Welcome to Entitled Parents, where a Karen demands to cut in line in front of a little girl to the bathroom. This story is from Vixen Ross, where a Karen pushes a little girl to get in front of her to the bathroom. M pushes in front of my little girl to get to the disabled changing restroom. In the UK, we have a radar scheme where disabled people have a key to access the disabled toilets. The problem with disabled toilets is that they become shared spaces, so in most cases, they lump changing tables and cleaning equipment in there as well. My little girl tends to go out in front and open the door for me when I need the loo. So, my little girl runs on ahead and opens the door for me. Karen blanks her, steps around me, and straight into the disabled loo with her child. I'm left standing there, fuming, thinking, what the heck did she just do? Karen steps out after what seemed like an eternity and says, I needed to change my child first. I didn't want to wait ages. I didn't say anything. I wish I had said something there and then, but couldn't think of anything. She left and went back to her table, I presume. You are justified in feeling upset and frustrated with Karen's actions. It would have been better if you had expressed your feelings in the moment, letting her know that her behavior was inconsiderate and disrespectful. It's important to communicate our needs and boundaries, even if it feels difficult in the moment. This story is from Influence Chemical, where an evil pacifier targeted their baby. The evil pacifier that targeted my toddler and the mother who didn't bat an eye at her children, who were chucking and hurling it across the room at top speeds. I was at a church service the other day with some friends, my wife, and my 14-month-old son. After the service, these two siblings, one looked to be about 2, and the other was maybe 5 or 6, were running around the lobby, throwing this kid's pacifier with a clip up in the air and playing catch with it. The pacifier was launched about 30 feet up in the air and about 10 feet probably farther. That's just a guess across the room every time. One more forceful throw sent the pacifier hurtling across the lobby, flying through the air and landing at my feet. So I picked it up and brought it over to their mom, who was sitting on a couch looking at her phone, not paying attention to her two children. I went over to her and told her, your kids were throwing this, just thought you should know, in a very kind, casual way, and laughed. I thought that maybe she didn't know what her kids were doing. She gave me the most thinly veiled, dirtiest look I've ever received. Okay, that's fine, she said, and sighed profusely. I walked away and went on to mind my own business. 15 minutes later, my wife handed me our son so he could play with some toys in the lobby. He started to walk around a little, so I followed him, and that's when I saw these two kids throwing the pacifier again, their mom still looking at her phone in the same place as before. The pacifier was hurled across the entire lobby again before my very eyes. My eyes widened as I realized it was a projectile coming from my precious offspring. Before I could even process what was going on, it came catapulting towards my toddler's head. Before I was able to even lift a finger to catch it, it precisely hit its target. My eyes widened. The metal clip part had struck my son in the back of the head. His eyes started to well up until the inevitable scream cry came pouring out at the top of his lungs. I picked him up to comfort him. I grabbed the pacifier off the floor, walked towards the mother, and told her, "Excuse me, this hit my kid in the head. Just wanted to let you know so that no one gets hurt," I said, with my crying child in my other arm. She gave me the dirtiest of all looks again. She raised an eyebrow and gave me that, what the hell? Look, if you know what I mean. She said nothing else, got up, grabbed her kids, and stomped out the door with a very angry, unpleasant look on her face. No clue where she went after that. Weirdest experience of my life involving my child. He still has a mark on the back of his head. You did the right thing by informing the mother about her kid's behavior and the potential danger it posed. It's unfortunate that she didn't take it seriously and reacted negatively towards you. In situations like this, it's important to prioritize the safety and well-being of your child. Perhaps next time, you could have spoken to a staff member or someone in charge to address the issue and ensure a safer environment. This story is from Draugr Can Talk, where they give an update on how they got blamed for not working on holidays. Lady blamed her son's behavior on me because I don't work holidays. Update. Original post hwww.reddit.com or entiteledrins sohovnazmik edit. Mary wept. I didn't expect this much attention and support. Thank you all. I promise you, since I pretty much just use Reddit to rant, there's plenty more sitcom script-worthy moments to come. Wow, only been a day and the replies have been amazing. Thank you. This may be shorter than the previous post, but I've taken what some have said into consideration. She eventually messaged me asking if due to the argument I wouldn't reach her son. I said this, listen, I'm really sorry if you feel I've been a bad influence. But also, your son is going through a time in his life where he may be a bit lost. I love teaching him. He's a bright young lad, but yes, I'd also appreciate it if you respected the boundaries I set. If anything I've said has genuinely upset you, please let me know. I appreciate all criticism. Me and your son can still continue lessons. Her reply was downright biblical. Yes, I'm very sorry for losing my temper. I didn't mean to. Hope everything's well, and yes, I'd love you to keep teaching him. Apologies for any stress caused. Damn. I expected her to be a bit no testy, but she was surprisingly well about the whole thing. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. You handled the situation well by addressing the concerns and setting boundaries with the mother. It's good that you expressed your love for teaching her son and your willingness to continue the lessons. It's also commendable that you offered to listen to any genuine criticism. The mother's response, although unexpected, shows a willingness to apologize and move forward. Overall, you handled the situation effectively and with maturity. Keep up the good work. This story is from Almost Home 2024, where they get harassed because of their faith. Entitled Stepmom is getting her family to harass me because I won't compromise my faith. So, some background context is required to fully understand my situation. I 23 meters and the younger of my brother, 26 meters, and I. My mom was old school Catholic, and my dad was an atheist. My brother and I were raised Catholic, and my dad never minded. When I was about 11, my parents got a divorce, and my dad got custody. My mom changed after the divorce. My brother and I are no contact with her. A little while after, my brother and I started being outspoken atheists to stick it to mom. In reality, my brother was just coming into his own, and the church didn't have a place in his life. I was the kid brother who followed his big bro. My dad almost instantly remarried to a woman I affectionately called the witch as a kid because I didn't know how my dad loved her without her putting a spell on him. She was rude, elitist, gold-digging, a total Karen. My dad changed too because of her. He still loved us and tried his best with us. I will defend to the last that he was a good father. His only flaw is his taste in women. But he was never really the same and always catered to his wife. As a kid, I was plagued by night terrors. I barely slept most of middle school. Of course, my stepmother's suggestion was medication and therapy. Nothing against it, but it wasn't what I needed. I know now I have trauma relating to my mother's abuse and her encouraging my brother to commit suicide. One day, I was searching through some old boxes and found my communion cross gifted to me. Because of the nostalgia of a time when I had an actual family, I hung it on my wall. I slept like a baby for the first time in years. That was sophomore year of high school. I realized that I just felt safe around Catholic symbols. It's not like anything else in that time of my life was comforting me, so I started escaping my home and going to the local church. The congregation accepted me, and I even started apprenticing with a blacksmith who went to the church. Around the start of junior year, I was a born-again Catholic. I wore a cross I forged myself every day. On the surface, my father and stepmother were supportive. And if Karen wasn't around, my dad genuinely supported me. He drove me to church and such. But my stepmother would ask that I not wear a cross when there are guests over. Also, one of her favorite things to do is give house tours to lord over them how much her husband makes and how nice her house is. After I decorated my room with various religious items, she stopped showing off my room, which I didn't mind. She also screamed at me if I ever dared to leave my Bible anywhere outside my room. She would also make snide comments constantly. This is already too long of context, so I'll paraphrase. At 18, I enlisted and served 5 years in the Marines. I got back home and am crashing in my old room until my brother and I can rent an apartment together and I start college. My stepmom introduced me to a daughter of her friends. She was pretty and nice when I met her, and I could tell. The two mothers were trying to get us together, so I decided to go with it. We went on 2 dates, and while we didn't really connect, I was having a fun time playing civilian, so I decided to keep going. The friction started in the planning of the 3rd date over text. The only day she had available was Sunday. I told her I was volunteering Sunday afternoon. She asked about the morning, suggesting a breakfast date. I said I had church. She said, I didn't know you were religious. I just replied, yeah, I am, and I offered that she could come along to volunteer with me. I was helping the church with a small fair, local artists selling work to raise money for the church. She was an artist, so I thought she would like it. She declined and stopped texting me. That was 2 days ago. Yesterday, I came back from a run to find my stepmom and the girl's mom having brunch. I grabbed some water and had a cordial conversation. The topic of the 3rd date came up, and they asked why I wouldn't go. Confused. I said I would go, but I just had plans on Sunday, and we needed to find a new date. I explained what I was doing. My stepmom said in a half-annoyed voice, "Oh, you're still on that." I learned from an early age that I can't even engage with her, so I just said, "Yeah, I am," and walked away to beat my frustrations out on a knife I was working on. Well, apparently, the mere mention that I was still in my religious phase gave the girl the ick. Last night, she knocked on my door and asked to talk, but she barged in before I could say no. Then she started talking at me about how a girl like that comes once in a lifetime, and I shouldn't be vindictive just because she doesn't share my delusions. That confused the hell out of me because I was the one who was ghosted, and I never did anything to be vindictive. So I asked what she meant, and she went on one of her "my voice is calm, so I'm right" rants about how I should have canceled my plans to take her out that Sunday. She said just because my church says men can treat women however they want doesn't mean I can. At that point, I just left the room. She's impossible to fight with, and if she gets angry, then all hell breaks loose. I learned that on Christmas Eve when I was kicked out and left in the cold when I was 14. After that, I haven't heard the end of it from my stepmom. She says things like, "I just lost a good girl over a myth," or "women don't like stuck-up men." And as per usual, my dad is staying out of it. As for the girl I was set up with, I don't really care. I mean, it's her choice, and honestly, I'm trying to ask out a childhood friend anyway. I think I was just being nice taking her out. I also don't care that my family is atheist. They have every right to believe what they want. Hell, I served 5 years to protect that right. And I personally believe the worst sin one can commit is to deny someone their convictions. But it's getting hard not to say something back. The rest of my family is either backing her or not. Getting into it. My step-aunts are sending me atheist articles and other gotcha pieces about how Sky Daddy doesn't exist. I'm literally the only member of my family I have a relationship with that's not outspokenly atheist. I'm already a black sheep for enlisting instead of going to an Ivy League college and not selling my soul to politics or business. I've asked them to stop, but my wishes aren't being respected because they need to unbrainwash me. It's getting annoying. I don't want to go low to no contact because I love my dad, and they apparently come as a package deal. My brother, being the only rational person, is backing me. He thinks the whole thing is stupid and is putting in more time looking for apartments for us so we can just leave the house. I'm not hopeful they'll come around and accept me, but I'm not compromising my faith because my step-family wants to be snooty. Update thanks, y'all, for the advice just to respond to the general answers I'm getting. I'm not going to be petty and try to show her up, act holier than thou to piss her off, or generally cause a problem. I'm going to turn the other cheek and live my life. For those saying I have blinders for my dad, that's probably true, but I'm not going to abandon the man who raised me and taught me everything it means to be a man just because of his wife. My religion has nothing to do with my mother. I chose Catholicism out of my own free will, not because my abusive mother controlled me. A lot of you guys have had bad experiences with the faith. I get that, and I don't want to discount it. But it's what held me together during my worst moments, and it's been warped by people to their own ends. That greedy, vindictive side is what most people see. You found solace in your faith, and it's understandable that you don't want to compromise it for your step-family. It's unfortunate that they don't respect your beliefs and try to undermine them. It's also important to prioritize your relationship with your dad, even if his wife's behavior is difficult to handle. It's great that your brother is supporting you and looking for apartments so you can have some distance. Stay true to yourself and don't let their snootiness bring you down.
Thank you for watching. What did you think of today's stories? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe because I post Reddit stories every day.